Alright, gang, we are doing something new. We are doing the YouTube thing. Today's gonna be our first video. It's gonna be a little meet day recap, going over my performance at the Ugly Sweater Classic yesterday. Start this video with a Nuri and a Pepsi Wild Cherry Vanilla here. These two go together so good for a little post-training luxury. If you could do me a huge favor, comment down below before we get into it. Comment luxury. Right now we are luxury maxing. Taking a nice little post-training bath. Lately, I've been working on boosting my recovery by finding simple luxuries in life that can help boost our relaxation. I am the type of lifter, type of person that's constantly on edge, constantly wired. The fact that I'm having a caffeinated soda post-training probably something to do with it, right? But today, we're going to be going over a meet day recap. The Ugly Sweater Classic is a competition held out in Albany, Oregon by Jeff Walling. Jeff is one of the best event directors that I have had the pleasure of witnessing direct events. Jeff is able to run a large scale competition with no cover fee, a good live stream, and a great product because he is able to get incredible sponsors on board. He is incredibly connected to his local community and he just works his ass off. Jeff's probably gonna have next year's Ugly Sweater planned out by the end of next month. I would assume like the dude just moves. The dude just works. Every year it gets a little bit better. This year it was my pleasure to compete for the first time. We had a 5-event day. We had start of the day not an axle. We had a barbell clean and press away for reps. We had a trap bar deadlift from 16 inches for number 2. For number 3, we had a Husafel bag carry. For number 4, we had a sandbag to shoulder for points in 60 seconds. And for event number 5, it was a bag over bar at 15 feet, ascending heights. We're going to go through, all of the events this year. But first, I want to give a big shout out to my lifter, Brendan. Brendan is the reason that I even did this show. Brendan competed in it last year. Absolutely crushed it. Took home first place in his division. This year, we've gone up. Tied for second by a half a point, which is fucking crazy. He took a third place because he weighed in a little bit heavier than the other guy, but he killed a water cut. He did a fucking nasty water cut going into USS Nationals, and while he was 0.4 pounds off, he put in so much fucking work to get that weight off, and then performed incredibly well in the next class up, relative to expectations. Like, I know every athlete is going to be hard on themselves and say, I didn't perform well, I could have done better. That's kind of a big theme of my own yesterday. But I think it's a very big job as a coach to kind of keep your athletes' perspective in check, where it's like, none of the other guys in his weight class had to do a big ass cut and then rehydrate and then put it together. All of those guys were just in that class. And so, all of that aside, my name is Austin Williams. You can call me the Gorilla Man. Gorilla Diesel on Instagram. It's a nickname I've had for like 15 years before I even earned the fucking nickname, before I even looked like this or was the person I am. But, I competed in my last powerlifting meet. I usually do powerlifting. I coach powerlifting, strength training, and strongman. But I did my last powerlifting meet in August of last year, and it was a really good meet. I had a 1703 total at 231 pounds body weight. I weighed in at 232 because I didn't want to do it naked, but 231 is cool to me because it's that IPF number, even though I'm not a tested lifter. So, did that meet last year. 606 squat, 425 bench, 672 deadlift, missed 716 on my third, pulled 705 in the gym like a month later. And honestly, hitting those numbers, I was like really like content. And I let myself take the foot off the gas pedal because the next event that I had scheduled was December of this year. It was very easy to let myself kind of relax and enter the off season without the sense of urgency that I should have had, with the sense of, not relaxing and not getting into a lazy schedule that I did. I'm going to start eating a little bit. This is my post-training bath. Like I said, we're doing with Simple Luxuries 2026 Luxury Maxing. If you did not already, please comment luxury down below. I'm going to tear into this Built Puff Brownie Batter Bar. If you're in the market for supplements, or maybe you own a gym in the Washington, Oregon area, cannot recommend Snyder's Vending enough. Ronan Snyder, founder, CEO, hardest working motherfucker you'll ever meet. If you have a gym and you do not have the machines that this guy offers in your gym, you are losing money. You are you don't have to do anything. You just pocket a percent and like laugh all the way to the bank. Some of the machines this guy has, they're vending protein powders, pre-workouts, frozen things. It's incredible, incredible stuff. But I'm gonna take a bite of this, cut this in post. I'm gonna do a little. So event one, barbell, clean and press away. I'm gonna be honest. This is where the day kind of went off the rails. Event one, going into it, I hit one warm up. So it's like you get what you paid for, right? I hit a single warm up at 195. Felt pretty good. And then I stood around for like 15 minutes because I just didn't pay enough attention to detail. I did not check what the ordering was going to look like because I just felt good and thought everything was going to be fine. I hit 225 for pretty easy, like 8 to 10 in training before I started this large cut that I've been doing. And when I got up there, the clean was wrong. I fucked it up. And then, because I'm in front of this large crowd, I just fucked up my clean. I just got out of my groove. I got out of my groove really, really badly. Proceeded to fuck up the clean again. Because I was like, alright, fuck it. Like, I fucked up the clean. It's fine. I'll just do a continental clean. Well, the thing is, I haven't trained a continental clean. I was just going to rely on brute strength to kind of muscle fuck it into position. Didn't really work out like that. Got it into position on a good clean. Got a good press. And after that, a little bit of crowd noise lit me up. I was ready to smoke another one. Like, I was like, best clean, was getting into position, and time was called, so dropped it, call it a day. Definitely queened out a little bit after that one. Definitely went on a little walk outside, took a second. I was fucking embarrassed. I had a lifter in Philadelphia this year. Flew out there to watch this kid compete. Ian Trick, another one of these just hard-working young guys. And I remember his third attempt deadlift, telling him after a second, look, we got a small jump or we're going to scratch, because he'd been dealing with some back pain. And it had been a long day. He came at the 9 a.m. session to cheer for his friend. And going into his third deadlift, it was probably like 7:30 or 8 o'clock. And so, like, I told him, like, look, small jump, chip for a PR, or we just fucking scratch it. Like, let's not end on a bad note. And he's like, I either want a real jump or like fucking like I just want a real jump. And so we sent it. I gave the phone to his friend. I was like, dude, just record this. Honestly, it's like a 50-50 shot. It even breaks the floor, right? Like, it's a big jump after a hard second. And he shakes it out to his knees. Everything he's fucking got into it, and he blacks out. And I remember, him walking away, he was pissed, very frustrated. And he was like, this is fucking embarrassing. It's humiliating. Like, and, I remember telling him in the moment, like, dude, what are you talking about? You fought for that so fucking hard. Like, you gave that everything you had. That's badass. Like, the crowd loved that. There's nothing cooler than fighting really hard, even if you fail. Like, that's what people love to see, is someone working towards what they want as hard as they possibly can, like a fucking crazy person, And, I had another competitor tell me that, where he was just like, dude, you just put on a fucking show. You fought your ass off for that rep. But it's just, the difficult thing about a different perspective is that by default, you can't imagine a different perspective. It's a different perspective. But I think I really needed that. I think I needed to step foot into being uncertain once again. I don't want to self-suck here, but it's like, statistically speaking, I'm ranked top 5% in the 242s untested worldwide. So it's like, I've done decently for myself in powerlifting, and so to go from something that I'm, pretty fucking decent at to something that, I'm saying I'm pretty fucking good at. I'm not gonna do the whole, the sun doesn't stop shining because it hurts your ass. I'm pretty good at it. Top 5%, that's a fucking good number. But in strongman, I'm a fucking bug, dude. I got fucking squished under that shit. And so, like, it sent me for a minute, It sent me for a minute. And, I was being really hard on myself for a second there. We're kind of thinking, like, I'm, like, a shitty athlete for this. But really, like, being a shitty athlete is not, like, having a reaction to your performance. being a shitty athlete is allowing a shitty reaction to your performance to continually throw off your performance. So I was really lucky on the walk back in to talk to Bob Moyer about kind of my plan going into deadlift, and he just said, "Look, man, like this is your event. Do what you got to do," and like that is exactly what I needed to hear. Sometimes a lift is not just a lift. I think this is a very important like soft skill many coaches need to learn. Sometimes a lift is not just a lift. My deadlift in that event was not just a deadlift. My deadlift in that event was my attempt to salvage the day. That deadlift was my attempt to prove to myself that despite fucking shitty circumstances, I can still put it together and be an athlete and do what I need to do. And so, I won the event on my opener with 805. Proceeded to jump to 900 and miss it. I hit 905 like an RP6 in training. And so it is a little frustrating to come short of what your goal is because I wanted a grand. I wanted a grand. I wanted 1100. I thought 1100 at 220 would be a really cool, 5x multiplier there. But you get what you train for. I think that's really what my big takeaway from this meeting is. You get what you train for. And so, dumb enough, I'm walking away from winning an event and I'm upset. And again, needed some perspective on that. It's a dumb fucking thing to do. And I always say that being a coach and an athlete is a tricky thing because there's a very big difference in the coach brain and the athlete brain. The athlete brain is all about if I can put it together right now, if I can make the stars align, if I can get in enough food and hydrate right and be in the right state of mind and listen to the right song beforehand and take fucking 30 milligrams of Halo and, I can fucking do it. I can do anything. And the coach brain is like, dude, we are going to set you up with something that you can't fuck up. And then you're going to go out there and for 60 seconds, you're just not going to fuck up and you're going to win. And it's like, had I gone into the deadlift with different mindset, I think I would have been more satisfied with the win. But I was still going in with my plan of like, I'm pulling a grand today. I pulled 705 in the warm up room, moved pretty good. 800 was definitely a little heavy. I think 850 was there, but I did not need to load anything more. I had won. Problem is, that deadlift wasn't just a deadlift, and that win kind of was a loss, right? With what I was wanting to get out of it. So, big lesson there. Focus on what the sport is, not what you want out of it. Really at the end of the day, it's like if you are hitting PRs, if you are winning events, you are doing well. It does not matter if you are not placing where you want. Obviously, it'd be nice if we could place where we want, right? But it just is what it is, and you gotta fucking accept it. Hughes felt carry after deadlift again. Frustrated, upset. Went out to the car to smoke some weed. I'm gonna be honest. I'm an athlete. I do dumb shit. That again, coach brain, athlete brain. I think had I, actually, I don't even think had I had somebody there with me to tell me not to, I would have. I think the number one thing I've learned about athletics is that athletes are athletes, and athletes are unique. There are a couple guys I coach at the Barbell Club down at Strength Union. Shout out Strength Union. That just have very unique ways of unracking and re-racking the bar and setting up to the bar on the deadlift and getting in position on the bench. And it's like something you see across lifters. Everybody is a little unique in their own way. Everybody has their own approach to doing things. Does smoking weed objectively fuck with your neurotransmitters and all of that shit that connects your brain to your muscles? Absolutely, right? Like it does. It is what it is. But in that moment, I went out to my car to self-medicate, hide in my car with my wonderful wife, Olivia, and I got my head right. And I came back in, and, it was pretty much my turn for Husafel. All day long, it was nice because it'd be Brendan and then it would be me. So whenever the Husafel, that was an event that I actually expected to suck really bad. I played with a couple of the bags warming up, and I was like, ugh. Get out there, and I placed pretty decently on the Husafel, actually. I want to say upper middle of the pack. And so with the Husafel, I got 3 laps. After the first lap, my brain kind of settled in, and I was like, okay, I have more than I think here. I definitely would like to credit all the Stairmaster that I've done for setting me up for success there. Stairmaster just fucking... It's a motherfucker, but I've been downloading a lot of movies on my iPad. I've got my iPad here to kind of keep me on track. and it really just makes the time go by. I'll kind of start a movie on the Stairmaster, finish it in the bath. It's luxury matching. If you haven't already, comment luxury down below. Alright. I'm at 3 Hughesville. Sometimes you don't realize what you have and you gotta fucking empty the tank. My big thing going into all the bag events this year was that I needed to raise my suffering tolerance. And Joe Sullivan had a really good bit last year about how, like, we shouldn't call it suffering because, like, it's voluntary and, like, it's just, like, a silly little thing we're doing for fun. But, like, I say suffering as in like tolerating negative stimuli. My number one goal in training for this event specifically was just to get ready to embrace the suck, embrace being uncomfortable, difficulty breathing, my legs hurt, my back hurts, everything hurts. Keep moving, do not stop. And so, I went in that one ready to empty the tank. I did decent. I was actually really proud of like how I locked in for that one. And again, I think being a shitty athlete is coming into the next event harboring your negative emotions from the previous event, not having negative emotions. I think you can watch almost any pro sport, and athletes are going to experience negative emotions. And like I said, athletes are athletes. Everybody responds to things a little bit differently. One of my favorite things about being a coach is working with different kinds of athletes. There's the guys that have their headphones on and they're fucking rapping at themselves in the back, and they're hyped up and they're jumping around. Then there's guys that are fucking cold steel, just like eyes forward, dialed in. There's guys who get a little more nervous. Some of my lifters, it always cracks me up. It's never the guys you expect to be nervous. I've worked with some like young killers, and then on meet day they're like really nervous, and it's just like, dude, what are you fucking nervous about? You're a dog. But now we're gonna move into event 4, sandbag to shoulder recap. Watching Brendan do that one, struggling with the heavy bag for a couple reps, I knew for a fact that I was not going to match his performance on the bags. And so I decided there, I'm going to try the big bag once. And if it does not go well immediately, I am done with the big bag. We're just going to get some points with the little bag. And so went for a rep, did not go well. Moved to the small bag, did my thing, got my points. Didn't really do great on bags, but, again, you get what you trained for. My big thing on the sandbag to shoulder is just the difference between powerlifting and strongman. And the big difference is, and it's not to say that you're not an athlete in powerlifting, and not to say that there's not adversity in powerlifting and things you have to overcome in powerlifting and obstacles you're going to have to face, because there are. There are a lot of different obstacles you're going to have to face. There are a lot of different roadblocks you have to work around. There are a lot of different things you're going to have to learn and you're going to have to develop as a lifter, as an athlete. But in strongman, it's different. There is 60 seconds on the clock. Not there's not 60 seconds on the clock on powerlifting, right? But you might pick up a sandbag, and it's not like the sandbag you've been training on. You pick up that sandbag, and it folds the wrong way over your arm, and then you got to figure out how you're going to get underneath it and kind of get it up. That is way different than anything we are doing on the platform in powerlifting. Powerlifting is very scientific. Powerlifting is very methodical. Powerlifting is very much we are meeting up with our friends a couple times a year to display the results of our training. If we are doing it correctly, we should be pretty consistently having decent performances. Very bad performances generally come from factors that are very new, stuff like weight cutting, stuff like extreme life stress. And that's my other big thing going into this meet. My life has been kind of turbulent over the last month, and it's just a lot of like working through past life experiences, past childhood trauma type stuff. Not to be fucking cringe on the internet right now, but I am finally at a place in my life where like I am able to do that work, right? Where like I have the space to do that and the freedom to do that. And that's something that I owe a lot to like the community of lifters that I work with, that I work for, and the incredible wife that supports me in every way, shape, and form in everything that I do. Like I have learned a lot this year that I think is going to make me, even more effective as a coach. I have done a lot this year that I think is going to make me a lot more effective as a coach. And this is one of those things, it was definitely a fucking rough day. It was like a really rough day. It was a very emotional day. And I'm never an emotional competitor in powerlifting. I've never been a meet day diva. But yesterday, oh my goodness, that shit was rough. But like I said, that's being an athlete. Athletes respond differently. I worked with a coach one time who, he was talking about an athlete of his, friend of mine, who had competed, and he was telling me that she had just been like really emotional all meet and freaking out the whole time, and how he was fucking annoyed about it. And if she did that again, she was off the team. And at the time, I remember like it was like one of those things where it's like, and this is like dirty, right? But it's like that's my coach kind of coming to me about someone on the team, and like I felt like I was kind of like on the in group, right? Like I kind of felt like I was like what's the word, like bonding, like it's like, oh dude, like we're tight like that, but it's like really that was like a fucked up thing to do. And I think like not supporting an athlete, and that's really fucked up, because it's like I imagine the day I had yesterday, and I imagine if it was like my lifter having a day like that, and it's just like I cannot imagine my response being anything other than like hugging them and being like, dude, what are you going through right now, bro? Like what is going on? Like what, like are you okay? Like luckily I have my fucking incredible wife there to take care of me throughout the day and keep me on track and keep me, from like just fucking being a victim of my own expectations and my own, it's just my victim of my own expectations, right? Where it's like, you get what you trained for. What other outcome would I expect on a day where like I'm showing up pretty unprepared? I did fucking an hour of Stairmaster the day before while I was watching Tron Legacy. So it's like, dude, like, what do you expect, right? But I've been doing a lot of crazy cardio lately. I've been cutting down. I'm really excited for the push up towards 2K. But that's gonna require me kind of like getting some of this body fat off and being in like a really like fucking healthy, insulin sensitive, like low blood pressure, like I gotta be super healthy before I can start pushing up. Brendan's bigger than me, and he's got like better health markers than I do. So it's like I gotta get down so I can start getting back up, because 2K's calling my name. That's like the big end goal. The big, I mean, it's never gonna be the end goal, right? But that's where we're headed. 1703 to 2K. The only person who's gonna put that extra 300 pounds in the total is the dude that is delusional enough to believe that he will do it. Um, Event 5 recap. I'm gonna take a little dab. I'm gonna cut this in post again, and then we're gonna talk about bag of bar. Get what you trained for. All right, we get the bath refilled. I'd love to see a little time lapse of this with the shitty seal on the bathtub in here. Probably just gonna replace that sometime this week. Probably take training a little lighter this week. Already went in today. 30 minutes of stairs. Did a little bit of deadlifts. I'm just excited to get back to training more than anything. I think I've been really missing being able to push hard, and right now in my training, kind of just redlining everything. I've been waking up at 4 regardless of when I go to bed. Some nights that means I'm up late and I get 4 hours of sleep, and just like fucking okay, get on with it. You go to the gym, you do your stairs, you do your lift, you get home, you do your work. It's just I try to think of it as simulated manual labor, right? Like, what are we gonna fucking do? Like, if we have shit we have to get done that's really hard shit, so what? It's gotta get done. If I worked a job that required me to be up and down stairs, if I had a schedule that required me to be up and down like that, I'd just get it done. So, we're just gonna get it done. Going into our Event 5 recap, bag over bar. Big lesson, you get what you trained for. I trained bag over bar one time. I live within 5 miles of my friend and, really a local legend in the strength scene, Bob Moyer, the guy that got me into strength sports to begin with. And he's got this fully outfitted, beautiful fucking shop gym where Brendan was actually training bag over bar and sandbags, and just one of those things that like with my schedule that I have set up, I didn't make time to go down there and train that. And so you know what you train for, right? I watched a guy doing a different technique on the day where he would use a vertical grip, which I was told is called the penis grip now. Awesome. Uh, but he was kind of telling me that it helps you control the path of release a little bit better. And that just made sense to me in my head. And so I changed my technique on meet day. Rookie mistake. Oh, speaking of rookie mistakes, I forgot my bag. I forgot all of my equipment. That's how I started my day. You really, at the end of the day, have to make sure that you don't forget the basics. I'm kind of at this point in my training career and my coaching career where I've gotten pretty off in the woods. I like learning about a lot of weird niche, strange stuff. I really like learning about topics that are maybe even outside of my scope of practice. But I'm in a season of life where we're really just going back to the basics. We're going back to working hard. We're going back to being accountable. And we're going back to doing what works. So we're about to just do what works. We're about to work hard, harder than ever before. I'm gonna finish this cut, gonna commit to my next powerlifting meet, and then from there, maybe we do the ugly sweater again this year.